He didn't slip, he chose. People often say that mistakes happen, that people slip, that hearts wander because they are confused, tired, or overwhelmed. They say it like betrayal is something accidental, like falling on a wet floor or spilling a cup of coffee. But what no one tells you is the truth I learned the hardest way. Some people don't slip, they choose. And the moment they make that choice, everything you believed about love, loyalty, and forever changes in ways you cannot unhear or unfeel. I met Daniel on a humid summer evening when fireflies floated like tiny lanterns in the fading dusk. I wasn't looking for love, and he wasn't someone I expected to fall for. He was quiet but grounded, the type of man who didn't raise his voice even when frustrated. He listened more than he spoke, and that alone made me feel carried, understood. My friends joked that he was too calm, that a man who rarely argued was either incredibly secure or hiding a storm. I shrugged it off because back then, I genuinely believed kindness meant stability. I believed consistency equaled loyalty. I believed in the version of him he allowed me to see. Our story unfolded in the way romantic stories normally do. We spent late nights walking through the city, sharing secrets we swore we never told anyone else. He would hold my hand like he was afraid to lose it in a crowd. And in those early days, there was a softness to him, a warmth that felt like home after a long journey. When he told me he wanted a future with me, I believed him, not because I was naive, but because his eyes didn't flinch when he said it. I mistook confidence for sincerity, presence for intention. We moved in together around our second year, into an apartment with big windows and uneven floors. The rent was too high, but the view was perfect, the city skyline shining through our living room like a promise. I decorated the space with plants and warm lights, while he filled the bottom drawers with tools, wires, and things I never bothered to question. We created a life, blended routines, shared grocery lists, cleaned the kitchen in silence on Sunday mornings, and built rituals we thought would last decades. If someone had told me then that Daniel was going to betray me, I would have laughed. Not because I thought betrayal was impossible, everyone is capable of something, but because I truly believed he wasn't. He wasn't the type, or so I convinced myself. That type didn't have a particular face, of course. It was just easier to imagine betrayal coming from someone careless, reckless, impulsive. But Daniel wasn't any of those things. He was controlled, methodical, intentional. And maybe if I had paid attention to that part of him earlier, I would have seen what was coming. It started with small changes, the kind that don't feel threatening at first. He started coming home late more often, always with excuses he delivered so gently, I didn't question them. The project's behind schedule, he would say. I grabbed a drink with the guys. Traffic was insane. I nodded, kissed his cheek, and told myself relationships go through phases. People get busy. Work gets hectic. Life becomes unpredictable. But after a while, small changes turn into warnings you can't ignore. He became distant, not in the cold sense. He still smiled, still asked about my day, still made coffee for me in the mornings, but something in him had shifted. He no longer looked directly at me when we talked. He sat at the edge of the bed instead of beside me. His laughter felt hollow, like a rehearsed sound instead of a real reaction. I tried to reach him, asked if something was wrong, if stress was getting to him, if he needed space or help. He always said he was fine. And when someone you love tells you repeatedly they are fine, you either accept it or start doubting your own instincts. I chose acceptance, but deep down my mind kept nudging me. Something wasn't right. The truth showed itself on a night so ordinary I still feel sick thinking about it. Daniel had left his phone on the couch while he showered. Normally, I never touched it. I didn't believe in snooping, didn't want to be that partner. But the phone lit up, buzzing with a message from a name I had never seen before. Asterisk, last night was incredible. Same time tomorrow. Asterisk. My body froze. My mind went blank. The phone buzzed again. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. Those words were enough to tear through the quiet stability I thought we had. I walked to the bathroom and sat on the floor outside the door, trying to remember how to breathe. I tried to convince myself I misunderstood, that it was a joke, that it wasn't what it seemed, but vomiting doesn't happen over misunderstandings. When Daniel came out, towel around his waist, he saw my face and instantly knew. And that was the moment the truth became clear, not because he confessed, but because he didn't even pretend to be confused. He didn't ask what was wrong. He didn't grab his phone like he had something to explain. He simply looked at me with a calmness so cold it made my skin prickle. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said quietly. It's not what you think. Not, let me explain. Not, please don't misunderstand. Just acceptance. Calm, steady acceptance. As if he had simply been discovered, not mistaken. I felt the world tilt. "How long?" I whispered. "A few months." "Why?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair as if this conversation was exhausting. "I don't know. It just happened." But that was the first lie of the night. Things like that do not just happen. You don't accidentally message someone. You don't accidentally meet them repeatedly. You don't accidentally hide things, erase calls, create alibis. You don't wake up one day in someone else's bed without deciding to walk there. "You chose her," I said, my voice shaking. "No," he murmured. "I didn't choose. It was a mistake." I looked at him, at the man I had built a life with, and something inside me snapped in a way that can never be fixed. Because I realized that betrayal isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, gentle, spoken in calm tones by someone who has already rehearsed their excuses. "People don't make the same mistake every night for months," I said. "They choose it." Silence. Heavy, humiliating silence. And in that silence, I saw everything clearly. He wasn't sorry. He was only sorry he got caught. The days that followed were a blur of numbness and anger, all tangled into one unbearable knot. I moved to my sister's apartment while Daniel stayed in the one we used to call ours. He didn't fight for me, didn't chase me, didn't beg. If anything, he seemed relieved that the truth was out, that he no longer had to juggle two lives. That hurt more than the messages. The woman he cheated with was someone from his office, a new hire, pretty, confident, bold. I saw a photo of her accidentally when his coworker posted a team picture. She wasn't the villain. She probably didn't know about me, or maybe she did and believed whatever story he told her. A person can only be as honest as the information they receive. And Daniel had always been good at presenting just enough to seem trustworthy. People asked me why I didn't fight for the relationship, why I didn't try counseling, why I didn't confront the other woman. They acted like betrayal required a dramatic response. But I wasn't interested in saving something that had been dying quietly for months. I learned something in that painful silence. Closure doesn't come from answers. It comes from acknowledging that sometimes people hurt you not because they are confused, but because hurting you is easier than being honest. Daniel reached out weeks later with a long message filled with apologies and regrets. He said he missed me, that he made a mistake, that he wanted to try again. The irony of his timing almost made me laugh. Why do people suddenly want what they destroyed only after they realize it won't return? But I didn't respond with anger. I didn't respond with tears. I simply told him the truth, the one he had avoided saying from the beginning. "You didn't slip, Daniel. You chose." He read the message. And then he disappeared from my life for good. I rebuilt slowly. I learned what it felt like to wake up without anxiety. I learned that trust isn't something you give blindly. It's something you protect. I learned that loving someone doesn't guarantee they will love you with the same depth or loyalty. But most importantly, I learned that betrayal says nothing about your worth and everything about someone else's values. Months later, I found myself sitting on a park bench in the early evening, watching strangers walk by, couples holding hands, parents chasing toddlers, teenagers laughing too loudly. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Not because I forgot what happened, but because I finally understood it. Some people don't slip. They make choices. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from someone who wasn't confused. They were committed to hurting you in ways they never intended to admit. I didn't lose Daniel. He lost the version of me that trusted him. The version of me who believed in his promises. The version of me who believed no one would ever choose to break something they claimed to care about. And in the quiet strength of moving forward, I discovered something important. The right person will never make a choice that risks losing you. The right person won't need excuses, lies, or secrets. They will choose you every day, not when it's convenient, but when it matters. Daniel taught me that truth. He didn't slip, he chose. And so did I. I chose myself. Every day after that.